I always looked back on my childhood memories of the Pokemon games, and I would be filled with nostalgia and happiness. As a kid, I didn't have very much, but I did have a Game Boy and a copy of Pokemon Emerald. I had a few other games as well, but Emerald was by far my favorite. I think I'd beaten the game at least 5 times before I stopped playing it for good. That's why when I heard of a new Pokemon game on the App Store, I jumped for joy at the thought of reliving my childhood. When I downloaded and started playing, it wasn't anything like I thought it would be. It required me to walk around my neighborhood in order to catch Pokemon and find Pokecenters. The only thing was that the Pokecenter was far as hell. I know that the way the game is programmed, Pokecenters are normally some kind of important landmarks, quite often churches. This was no exception where I live, except for the fact that the Pokecenter is an abandoned church. According to some of the other kids in my neighborhood, it's haunted. I've always been too scared to go in there, but I really need to for that Pokecenter. I stood outside the abandoned church at 9 o'clock at night, weighing out the options in my head. There's nothing in there, just a bunch of silly rumors that got out of hand. I started to tell myself, hardly believing the words. I stood there for what seemed like hours until I finally found the blind courage to just go in. I opened the front door, and the sound of it creaking sent chills down my spine. It was the most repulsive sound I've ever heard. But I came this far, and I was not going to turn around now. It was dark as hell. I slowly made my way through the old building until I was able to access the Pokecenter. Something in here was going to get me. The air assaulted my skin, and my nose was bombarded by a smell I was unfamiliar with. I hurried it up as fast as I could and started jogging out when I tripped over something. It was big, and it was hard. I landed on the ground right next to it. I opened my eyes to see old, tattered religious robes on a corpse. There was a dead guy in the church. My knee-jerk reaction was to push it away from me, as if it had been the one intruding on my personal space. I got up and ran. I didn't look back. I didn't think about it. I never went back to that church. It took me a few days to start playing Pokemon Go again, but I still do. I should have known better than to have allowed a game to hassle me into going into an old haunted church. I have to walk almost a quarter mile to the next Pokecenter now. I'd honestly walk 10 miles every time if it meant not going back to that damned place ever again.
Number 2.
My name is Robert, and my brother is an idiot. His name is Leonard. Leo for short. And he has always been obsessed with Pokemon for some reason. Don't get me wrong, I love those games myself. But I just thought it was weird to be in your 20s and still trying to catch Pokemon. Well, anyway, he'd been going on and on for weeks about the new Pokemon game that came out for iPhones. He kept bantering me into getting it and playing it, but I just didn't care enough to do so. One day, after I got home from school, he started texting me that he'd come over and show me the ropes on Pokemon Go. Listen, Leo, I don't want to play that game. I'll walk around with you and hang out, but I'm not downloading that thing. My phone's memory is cramped as it is. Ugh, fine, was his only reply. He walked over to our apartment and we started walking toward our favorite donut shop. Coffee, donuts, and pastries. Best place in the whole damn city, I murmured. Wait, there's a golem across the street. I'll be right there in a minute. I sighed. I hadn't taken more than 3 steps when I heard a car horn and a loud noise. I turned around to find my brother on the floor. He was a bloodied mess, and his brain was leaking out of his skull. I ran toward him, knowing that he was dead. I still tried to check his pulse anyway. Nothing. Be careful out there. People think things like this can't happen to them, but they can. And they do. I'd hate for anyone else to have to feel this misery that I'm going to have to carry around for the rest of my life. All because of a stupid fucking Pokemon.